This is Jarrod Horak, and this is my latest Kentucky Derby 2024 Contenders video. And before I get into the Derby contenders, if you're interested in reading my Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks reports, head on over to todaysracingdigest.com. On their front page near the top, you'll see a Kentucky Derby tab. Click on that tab, and it will take you over to the Digest Derby page. And there you will be able to read all of my Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks reports. For my weekly Derby and Oaks updates, I updated both of those earlier this week, and you can read both of those reports on the Digest Derby page. If you're interested in a complete digest for free from now through the end of April, if you go over to todaysracingdigest.com and you click on their complete digest page, the tracks that they cover for the complete digest, Gulfstream Park, Oaklawn, and Santa Anita Park, you can get one free complete digest from now to the end of April if you use promo code Derby5424. So go over to todaysracingdigest.com for more details, and in the description in this video, I will provide that promo code and a link to the complete digest page. And if you're interested in checking out my personal website, I've updated it, therunawayhorse.com. So if you go over there, you're going to find more free picks. I'm going to be covering more tracks and covering more handicapping articles. So I'm going to have a lot more extensive coverage as I'm expanding my coverage to cover more tracks. So go over to the runawayhorse.com and you can just check out my new website. And I also sell full cards at Santa Anita Park. So I cover those Southern California full cards every year. I do Santa Anita and Del Mar, plus I do Triple Crown full cards and Breeders' Cup full cards. You'll find all that information at therunawayhorse.com on my sales page. Santa Anita Park is running 5 days this week. It's been a long time since they've run 5 days. So they're going to be running Thursday, February 15th through Monday, February 19th. I'm going to be covering all of those full cards on my sales page, and you can purchase individual full cards, weekly and weekend packages, or the entire meet. So go over to therunawayhorse.com for more details. And at the top, you'll see a red RPM handicapping tab. If you click on that, that will take you over to my partner's website at RPM Handicapping Giant. And if you're interested in purchasing books, software, other handicapping information, go over and click on that red RPM Handicapping tab. It will take you over to that RPM Handicapping Giant website where you can purchase handicapping books, software, etc. And now we're going to get into the Kentucky Derby contenders. One of the first things I want to talk about here is kind of Preakness contenders, because Bob Baffert's horses are ineligible for the Kentucky Derby for the third straight year. But the difference this year is his horses did not switch barns to become eligible for the Derby. They stayed in Baffert's barn. His horses are eligible to compete in the Preakness and the Belmont. Nysos is one of his top contenders. He's 3 for 3 lifetime. He was an impressive winner of the Robert Lewis Stakes when he stretched out in distance in his last start. And now they're probably going to want to get him to the Preakness. And you may see him a couple more times before that race. A race like the Santa Anita Derby makes sense. We'll have to see which direction they go with Nysos. And Baffert has a late blooming horse, Maymun. This one is 2 for 2. And he just stretched out and won a 1 mile allowance race on February 11th at Santa Anita Park. And he defeated his stablemate Imagination. And Imagination passed Maymun, who was setting the pace. But then Maymun came back and he won that race. He's been running fairly fast figures, and he's one to keep an eye on. Maybe he'll be able to make a race like the Preakness. Now, Muth is another horse for trainer Bob Baffert. He was first in the San Vicente Stakes earlier this year. Last year, he was second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Prior to that race, he won the Grade 1 American Pharoah Stakes. So he's one that certainly keep an eye on for the Preakness Stakes. He had a recent workout, 5 furlongs in a minute flat, Santa Anita Park on February 13th. One more Preakness horse to mention, Endlessly, for trainer Michael McCarthy. This one received an automatic berth into the Preakness Stakes when he won the El Camino Real Derby. That was 1 mile and an eighth on all-weather ground on February 10th at Golden Gate Fields. So he's eligible to run in the Preakness. We'll have to see if they end up going in that direction later as the spring comes up. And now we'll talk about some of the Derby contenders and where they're going next. Now, the Sam F. Davis Stakes in my latest Kentucky Derby report, I updated, recapped that race, and then I updated the point standings, and then I updated my exceptional 11 Kentucky Derby contenders, and we'll go through those Derby contenders, and we'll see where they're going next. Now, my top-ranked Derby contender right now is Sierra Leone for trainer Chad Brown. They paid a bundle for this one. He ran a couple times last year. He won his career debut in a one-turn mile. They stretched him out to a mile and an eighth in the Remsen second time out. And in that race, he rallied from last to go past your pace setter, Dornoch, but Dornoch came back on him and he won by a nose. Now, that was a wet track at Aqueduct that day, and it was a speed favoring main track as well. So Sierra Leone ran well there. He's worked 8 times this year in Florida, and he's going to make his first start because he's entered in the Grade 2 Risen Star Stakes at Fairgrounds on February 17th, his first start of the year. We'll have to see how Sierra Leone can do from off the pace in that Risen Star Stakes. Now, Timberlake is my second ranked Derby contender right now, and he's one that is going to be running in the Rebel Stakes next on February 24th. He's had a few workouts. He had an impressive workout on February 10th. Brad Cox is high on him, and he expects him to do well this year. He won the Grade 1 Champagne last year. Track Phantom is my third ranked Derby contender right now, and he's one that has a lot of speed. He's won back-to-back points races in the Gun Runner and the Lecomte Stakes, and he's the one to catch in the Risen Star Stakes on February 17th. Fierceness is number 4 on my list. He was a former number 1 on my list. After that Breeders' Cup Juvenile, he was impressive that day, but he disappointed in the Holy Bull in his first start this year. He ended up finishing 3rd. Didn't have a great start. Now, that's twice now in his career that he didn't have great starts and he didn't run particularly well. The Champagne last year, and then in that Holy Bull. But when things go right for him, he's been explosive. So he's one that seems to need everything to go his way. We'll have to see where they go next. Originally, they were expected to win the Holy Bull, skip the Fountain of Youth, and then wait for the Florida Derby. We'll have to see what they do now. Locked is another one for trainer Todd Pletcher, just like Fierceness. And he was supposed to run in the Sam F. Davis Stakes on February 10th. But he had an elevated temperature. He got knocked out of that race. He has yet to come back to the work tab, and we'll have to see where he goes and how quickly he can return to work for trainer Todd Pletcher. Dornoch is going to be making his first start this year in the Fountain of Youth Stakes at Gulfstream. That's on March 2nd. As I mentioned, he won the Remsen Stakes last year, and he's one that has good early pressing speed. Hall of Fame is number 7 on my list for trainer Steve Asmussen. And for Hall of Fame, he's going to run in the Risen Star Stakes next. He was impressive when he stretched out in distance in his second career start and broke his maiden on January 20th by 10 lengths. Conquest Warrior for trainer Shug McGahee is number 8 on my list right now, and he's one that was visually impressive in his maiden win on January 13th, rallying from off the pace in his second career start. He's had a couple bullet workouts on February 3rd, February 11th, and Shug is looking at an allowance race somewhere near the end of February as his next start. If for whatever reason that race doesn't fill, he'll probably run him in the Fountain of Youth Stakes. Now, Nash was a former number 1 top-ranked Derby contender on my list after he was impressively breaking his maiden at a mile and a 16th at Churchill Downs, and he ran a fast race throughout that day. But he's been dropping, and now he's dropped to number 9 on my list after he lost his last 2 starts in the Gun Runner Stakes and the Lecomte Stakes. He did hit the board in both of those races, and now they're going to try to find an allowance spot for him so he can get his confidence back and maybe get a victory. And they did find an allowance spot on the Risen Star Stakes undercard at Fairgrounds on February 13th. He's going to be competing in the 3rd race. Stronghold is number 10 on my list for trainer Phil D'Amato, and he is one that is going to be running in the Sunland Derby. That'll be on February 18th. I'm going to cover the Risen Star and the Sunland Derby on my YouTube channel this week. Also, stay tuned to those videos. And Stronghold looks like a solid contender in the Sunland Derby. And then the 11th and final horse on my exceptional 11 list is Resilience for trainer Bill Mott. He seems to be getting better. He ran against some good horses earlier in his career. He was hitting the board. He ran into Locked, Drum Roll Please, Stronghold, Track Phantom, Nash. And then he got away from those horses. He added Lasix, his first start this year, January 1st at Gulfstream. And he won a 2-turn maiden race by more than 4 lengths. And he was the favorite that day as well. So he's one that is going to be running in the Risen Star Stakes next. So that Risen Star Stakes seems to be the deepest points race this year. Seems to be a loaded race. Multiple horses on my exceptional 11 Derby contenders list are there. And we have a Kentucky Derby future wager this week. And horses that I would consider if I was playing the future wager this week. Sierra Leone, he's my top ranked contender. I would consider using him. Timberlake for trainer Brad Cox. He's training well for his 3-year-old debut, and he showed a lot of promise last year as well. Some others that I would consider: Conquest Warrior for trainer Shug McGahee. I'm high on this one. I think he could end up being a decent one. He hasn't run really fast yet, but he's shown a lot of raw ability, and he's one that might be able to step up into the stakes ranks and compete later this year. So that's a look at my top ranked Kentucky Derby contenders, and even looking ahead to the Preakness as well, with those Bob Baffert runners, and then endlessly. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you like this horse racing content, and keep checking my YouTube channel for these Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks videos. And until I see you next time, good luck at the races.